It's the Gear Tester here, and in this video I'm going to talk about my 3 favorite knives that are manufactured by Mora of Sweden. So these are my 3 favorite knives from Mora. And I'm going to just go over their names, and then we'll talk about each of them individually, or their number delineation here. This first one here is quite interesting. It's a hook knife, and it is the 164, that's the model number from Mora, the hook knife. This red-handled one here is the 612 classic utility knife, and it's got a 4.2-inch blade. It's a great knife. Okay, and the first 2 knives here with the wooden handles, they are carbon steel, and this last one here is actually a collaboration between Mora of Sweden, the Mora, the knife company, and Light My Fire, the fire steel company. And so it actually has a fire steel in the handle. We'll go over that when we get to that knife. So this hook knife, you may be wondering, what in the world do I need a knife like that for? It doesn't look very useful, but it actually is a very useful tool when you are trying to carve spoons or bowls. Okay, this was my first attempt using this hook knife, and this was intended to be a spoon to eat with, but it kind of grew as I worked on it into something that's not really the size of a serving spoon, and is definitely not the size of an eating spoon. But that was my first attempt carving it out using this knife. This was my second attempt, and I have carefully used a wood burner and burned some designs into this little spoon, and it's a great sized spoon. And did a better job on this one, I think. And then this was my most recent attempt to make a spoon here using the Mora hook knife. Okay, it is carbon steel, so you are going to have to protect the blade. I have done that, but it has gotten a little bit of a patina, a little bit of rust there. That's not a problem. Okay, as long as the edge is sharp and it's not rusting the metal away, which is not happening, that's just surface rust, it doesn't bother me. It's just part of the natural aging process of the blade, in my personal opinion. So the hook knife is my favorite, one of my favorites, one of my 3 favorites here, because it allows me to do things that other knives don't. This knife is going to cost you around $24, and it has a specialty use. And maybe you're not interested in carving spoons or bowls and things, but I am. And I like taking it with me when I'm on backpacking or camping trips, because I can sit around the fire late in the evening with my headlamp and carve a spoon, or early in the morning as breakfast is cooking and do some carving, and I really enjoy that. That's part of the fun of getting out into the woods, into the wilderness, doing some bushcrafting as I do camping and other outdoor activities. So the hook knife is a specialized tool. It's really quite unique. There are a number of companies that make similar knives. Most of them are significantly more expensive than $24, what you'll pay for this knife. Mora makes a couple different other hook knives, ones that have double edges and things. I just found this was the simplest to me. A single edge, very easy. You can come back here on the back of the blade and push because it is not sharp. Be very careful. This is a very easy knife to cut yourself on as you reach for it and grab it. It does not come with any kind of sheath, any kind of blade covering, so you're going to need to come up with something to keep it from cutting your hand. The next knife here that I really like is the Mora Classic Craftsman 612 utility knife. It's got a 4.2-inch blade, and it is a great knife. Many of the knives Mora makes, and I think this is a good example of kind of the traditional line of knives that Mora has made for a very long time, do not have this little hand guard. Okay, do not have a little finger guard there. Most of them look just like this in varying sizes and shapes. Okay, I like that this one had a finger guard there, just because these knives come very, very sharp from Mora, and I did not want to cut myself, and so that just gives me a little insurance. This knife does come with a very simple little plastic sheath. Keep in mind that this knife is going to cost you around $20, so understand that that's the kind of quality you're going to get. The blade is very good, very sharp. I would minimize the amount of batoning and things I do with this knife, but it's a great utility knife. It's a great carving knife. Again, for finishing up like the handles here on this, this is a great knife to use for doing that. Okay, so it's got a nice blade length at a little bit more than 4 inches. It's a good quality blade, super high polish that you can see there, and I'm really impressed with this knife. And I like that it has they have other knives that have finger guards and things, but I like the size and just the simplicity of the single finger guard. Some of them have a back guard, but I like to be able to get my thumb up behind it, and so a guard on the back is less useful to me. Just comes with a little plastic sheath that it just snaps down into, okay? And that's going to cost you about $18, $19, $20, okay, depending on where you get it. Now this knife here, like I mentioned before, is really a newer iteration of the knives which Mora has been making for a very long time. I like these two because they're traditional, and I like the traditional fit, finish, and feel of these knives. This is a modern iteration of what Mora makes, and they've been making some of these more modern knives for many years now, 20, 30 years I think. This is one of the newer knives in their lineup, and it is a combination, kind of a dual effort between Light My Fire, which makes fire steels, and Mora. So it's got a stainless steel blade, it's got a polymer handle, okay, and inside the handle is Light My Fire's fire steel. Both Light My Fire and Mora are Swedish companies. So generally, Light My Fire has made little fire steels that look something like this, okay, and help you start a fire. And what I like about the Light My Fire knife is you're gonna pay about $30 for this knife, but keep in mind you're basically paying $15 for the knife, $15 for the fire steel, which is basically what you'd be paying if you were buying them separately. So if I bought this knife, okay, the utility 612 utility knife, and that I'm talking at least $30, probably a little bit more than that. So you kind of get a bargain when you get these two together. And depending on the color of this knife you get, the price can vary from $30 down a little bit, at least currently. I was a little bit worried about how this fire steel would lock into the handle. And so when I got this, one of the things I was really looking for is, does this stay in the handle well? And it does. It stays in quite well. If you ended up somehow accidentally laying this down and losing it, or it fell out, which I don't really think is going to happen, maybe you just used it up. Okay? You just used it up. You can buy replacement versions from Mora, okay, or from Light My Fire. I'm not sure, but I think it's a great deal. Now, when this knife came, it comes also with a nice sheath, maybe set up better than this one for belts. Okay, that's kind of a knife that I would put in a pack or tuck down into a pocket. This has got a good enough clip that I wear this one on my belt. It came with a lanyard to help you keep track of the fire steel. Very similar to just this lanyard here, just without the striker and without it, you know, with basically the fire steel there. I found that what I wanted to do is grab the knife and pull it out with the lanyard. And what I was afraid is that as I handed this off to somebody else, or as I absentmindedly used it myself, that I would jerk it out and cut my hand open. So I simply removed that lanyard, that little piece of cordage, because it was running right through there. Because I wanted to not cut my hand open. So I would encourage you to actually do that yourself when you get it. So those are my 3 favorite knives produced by Mora of Sweden. And I like that these knives are made in Europe, that they have, these two have an old world feel. I like this one with stainless steel because I think it's a modern iteration of what they're making. But these are really my 2 favorite. This is a really good utility knife that I take along with me on backpacking trips for some bushcrafting, but mainly food prep and things, and starting a fire. I kind of use this as a backup fire source that I don't really think I have with me. And then if I lost other things broke, or whatever happened, I would have a backup fire source. That's kind of how I treat this. So I take my other fire steels with me, or lighters with me, etc. But I kind of keep that as a backup that I forget that I have, and then if I needed it, it would be there. But I like all these knives, and we're talking $25, $18 or $20, $30 with the fire steel. I think they represent a good bargain when it comes to purchasing them and using them. They're not knives that are going to break the bank, but they're excellent cutting tools for doing bushcrafting, food prep. If you were going to use these two, I think both these 2 knives would do very well for preparing game, skinning a a deer or a rabbit or something that you shot, or you know, a pheasant, something like that, chucker. Breasting that bird out, preparing it and cooking it over the fire as you're camping, assuming you're doing that, of course, legally. But there you go. So I think these three knives, the hook knife, the 164 hook knife, the classic Craftsman 612 utility knife, and the Mora Light My Fire Fireknife, which has a 3.75-inch blade. I think all these knives are great knives. They're cost-effective cutting tools, and they're ones that I've enjoyed having and using, and that I would recommend to you. Thank you very much for your views and your subscriptions. My goal is to produce quality video reviews on the topics of shooting, camping, and survival. Each of these Mora knives would fall into the camping and survival category, I think, and they come highly recommended from me, the Gear Tester.